have great memories of feeling like this town was a really lively and interesting place to be.
Growing up in Mount Vernon, it was always special to me, Mom being a teacher and Dad being integrated into the manufacturing and the industry in Mount Vernon.
I would not be the person I am today. My family wouldn't be the family that it is. My kids would not be who they are without the influence of this community.
All right, we're coming into Mount Vernon from the south on routes 3 and 36. And this is a Welcome to Mount Vernon sign, maintained by the city, and the local garden club keeps it looking great and really sends a positive message to those people who are coming to visit city of Mount Vernon for the first time.
We have often described our city, our county, as really being a three-legged stool built on agriculture, education, and industry.
You know, to a certain extent, Mount Vernon's kind of an incubator. We're close enough to major markets that it's important to be close enough to, but we also have the opportunity for people to take an idea and run with it.
I think a lot of the innovation that's taken place in Mount Vernon has lent itself to the growth that Mount Vernon's had. I mean, if you look at Ariel or Cooper Bessemer, without them we wouldn't have the workforce, we wouldn't have the size community that we have, because those people moved here to start a family and work for those companies.
And because Ariel is here, because that dream was allowed to grow, it fostered all of these dreams around it. There are businesses that exist in Mount Vernon. It's almost like a trunk of a tree. It's strong and has deep roots in Mount Vernon, but there's all these branches that frankly, without that tree trunk, wouldn't be able to be there.
And I think the innovation that's taken place with inside of those industries has really sparked the minds of the people in the community. That's what's led to different organizations and businesses being formed in Mount Vernon.
I think one of the exciting things about Mount Vernon is that it looked at its assets and it said, you know, what are some things we're really good at here in Mount Vernon? And one of the things we're really good at is being home to higher learning. You know, I think of the SPY spot that engages children in discovery and creativity and science, and marrying that with Kenyon's film department. I mean, my children are thriving in this community because this community is thriving. To be able to go to our Memorial Theater and to fill that and to have Beauty and the Beast or Lion King come alive is huge.
We're turning off Mount Vernon Avenue onto Division Street. And that's going to take us up to the area where the Mount Vernon High School is located, also the middle school. And this complex has become a real campus, not only for the high school and the middle school, but also the Career Center. They've also built 2 buildings, and they have a strong adult program after school. So this then also is contiguous to the Mount Vernon Nazarene University campus.
As I think about geographically what Knox County provides, the ability to look out on a field and to see where my food is grown is important. To be able to take a walk on the Kokosing Gap Trail and understand the history of the railroad in Knox County, and now as a hub for activity and exercise and health.
To the left, we would have the Kokosing Gap Trail, and to the right would be the Heart of Ohio Trail that goes towards Centerburg. The trail that goes east goes to Danville, Ohio, and that's the Kokosing Gap. There was a fellow who came up to me after we'd completed the trail and said, you know, I thought this was the silliest thing you could ever do, is take an abandoned railroad and put a bike trail on it. And then he finished up by saying, I was on this trail 364 days last year.
Now, being founded in 1805, Mount Vernon was such a pinnacle point in the United States growth and development, and Mount Vernon, I think, is really rich in that architectural history, from Gambier Street and High Street to North Main and South Main. The buildings on there, they're just beautiful.
We have nearly 7 miles of brick streets. Total mileage in the city is about 96 miles, but 7 miles of brick street. Council passed legislation a few years ago that that's the amount of brick streets that we will maintain. We will not be converting those to asphalt. Yeah, we're going by Camp Syker, which really has a history with the city of Mount Vernon. And during the summertime, they have many people who come in and use the facility as a camp. And a lot of the kids go to the water park that's just across the street. But Camp Syker has been a huge part of this area of the city.
Susan, I've always thought that a sense of place really depended upon appreciation of a community's history. Interestingly, we're sitting right now in the Central Ohio Technical College Resource Center, and this project was the actual genesis of that reimagination of downtown.
One of our show places in the downtown area, along with the two buildings the Nazarene University inhabits. One of those buildings the Nazarene operates is the nursing school, and the other is the art department. And of course, they maintain that area where the Kresge building was burned, they maintain as a downtown green space. On the left is our first mural that was designed, and people in our Renaissance group felt that murals were something that could help beautify our downtown area. So we have the first one there. There's a second one up here near the Grand Hotel that was finished this last summer. We're coming now to the Grand Hotel, and Grand Hotel is only 2 years old, replaced a hotel that was built in 1970, and then that hotel that was built in 1970 really replaced one that was built in the mid-1800s, just after the Civil War. Driving downtown here, we're going to have on our right-hand side, the corner of Vine Street and South Main, the historic Woodward Opera House, and the adjacent building were purchased, and money was acquired through historic tax credits and new market tax credits, and they're doing a $21 million renovation of that. That's undergone for the last year and a half, should be finished the end of 2017. Theater will open early in 2018. Across the street here is the Alcove Restaurant, which opened in 1911, so we celebrated its 100th birthday a few years ago, but recently undergone a major renovation. It's a destination now. It's the Alcove Restaurant. The generosity of people in this community have made that possible. We're in one of the parking lots of the Ariel Foundation Park now. We're driving by the Stormmeyer Event Center, and it was one of the structures that was really hidden among the large number of buildings that had been built together over the years for various purposes in the glass manufacturing business.
Instead of saying, how do we get rid of something that feels messy and old, to instead say, how can we transform this and reinvent and recycle this into something that's going to be of value to the community? And the community stepped up. And so the Raston Tower that you can see from almost anywhere in Mount Vernon becomes this thing that used to be this old smokestack, and people are going, what are you going to do with that? The glass that was all over the place became this river of glass. Something that was going to go down, a huge building, became an event center. It's a spectacular piece of Mount Vernon that could have continued to be old and frankly dangerous. And now it's this place that you want to go. You want to go fish, and you want to go out and perform. You want to run a 5K there.
That's also the place where we shoot the fireworks. We moved our fireworks for 4th of July. That presentation takes place here.
We aren't waiting for culture to kind of tell us what the next best thing is. We are creating the next best thing. And it is centered around community. It is centered around philanthropy. It is centered around the ability to see what our assets are, and then to figure out how that speaks to our community and supports our community. Our squares are supposed to be our hubs anyway, and too often in small towns they're just not anymore, and that's not the case. There's pieces of history that are there. I have a great uncle that was in the war, and I'm able to go and I can find the brick with his name on it. And I can go find those names and that connection there, to be able to see monuments that link me to history from hundreds of years ago, and at the same time be able to get local honey.
Public Square is the home of the farm market every Saturday through the spring, summer, and fall. From 9 to 12, you can buy about anything you want that comes out of the garden or comes out of the kitchen. Also, the public square serves as kind of the nucleus for the annual Dan Emmett Arts and Craft Festival. This is a place where entertainment takes place. They put up a large stage and have named entertainment come in, and they also have a great deal of local entertainment on some smaller stages down through the downtown area.
So Susan, one of the things that is so important to any family is safety. What's your perception of how these safety services that are so important sort of operate in this particular community?
Law enforcement here in Knox County, our firefighters, our EMTs, to a large extent, they're our neighbors. Not only are they invested in my safety when something bad or hard or difficult or dangerous is happening, but they're invested in my safety when it's not. When you know your neighbor, when you know the person that's walking down the street, there is a level of safety. There is a level of feeling like we look out for each other. And I think that's part of what a rural community allows us to have.
You know, to be perfectly honest, Mount Vernon is not Camelot.
Exactly.
And like every other small community in Ohio and the country, we've got some serious problems, particularly with abuse of opioids and other substances. Do you get the sense that this is a community of caring?
This community takes it the next step and says, so what are we going to do about this? I think that's reflected in our schools. I think that's reflected in our healthcare. And the Parent Support Initiative came out of that.
I think you can't have a good hometown without good health care because employers don't want to be located in a community where their employees can't rely on good health care. I think what some people would find surprising from the outside, certainly not here, is to understand that our community hospital in this community of 17,000 people has a radiation oncology unit, has 2 cardiac cath labs, and that some really sophisticated healthcare is being delivered in this community. And I think it really is one of those things that sets us apart from other communities our size.
The opportunities my kids will have growing up in Mount Vernon is the fact that Mount Vernon is continually expanding and growing and changing. Whether it's education, jobs, companies coming in, there's always places for them to go, work, and shop.
There's a goal here that's higher than Mount Vernon just staying alive. It's out of survival mode. It's into thrive mode. My heart has always had a place in Mount Vernon, and Mount Vernon has always had a place in my heart. It's easy to get connected to Mount Vernon. It's easy to feel like this is a place that you belong. And even if you move away, a lot of people tend to come back.
There's just something about Mount Vernon. I mean, I moved away to one of the largest cities in the United States, and I had to come back. I went to school here. Now my children have been born in Knox Community Hospital, and it's just something about Mount Vernon that I want to stay here. I feel safe, I feel connected, I feel integrated into the community, and anyone can feel like that in Mount Vernon.